So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our January 2026 TEA Special Education webinar. We do have 4 topics on our agenda for today, and so we'll move through those. A couple housekeeping rule notes. This is recorded, and so within about a week where you registered, that registration link will be replaced with a view the webinar link. So you will be able to go back and view this webinar within about a week. Documents for today have also been added where the agenda was on the website. So you're welcome to go back and pull up any of the documents referenced today at that spot. We have a Q&A feature. There's also within some of the context for today, some email addresses boxes that we're going to want you to put questions on. But we do not have a chat feature. And if you raise your hand, there's not going to be a way for us to respond to you. So please use the Q&A feature as you go through today. What I will do is sort the questions and distribute them to the various presenters that we have here this afternoon. So thank you. Well, first on our agenda, we've got some of our friends from Region 13 to share information on Texas SPED Support and some updated booking features. So Region 13, I'm going to hand it to you.
Thank you. All right. Let me just get this pulled up. All right. So thank you so much for joining us. Today, I will be highlighting the new custom list feature that we recently launched on Texas SPED Support. But before we get into that, we will start with a quick overview of the website, just for anyone who may not be familiar with the platform. And some quick introductions. I am Erin O'Keefe, and I'll be going over the custom list feature with you all. And then my teammate Deontay will join us to walk you through the process of creating your own custom list. So in case some of you are not familiar with Texas SPED Support, it is your one-stop shop for SPED educator resources in Texas. To give you a little bit of a background, before Texas SPED Support, all of this great info was spread across 7 different websites. So that made it difficult to keep track of resources, to search effectively, or even remember where something lived. It wasn't exactly an easy experience, and it often led folks unsure of where to find the resources that they needed. With Texas SPED Support, we bring all of this great information into one place, one home, making it easier for users and providing you all with a much better and happier experience. And because we brought everything into one place, Texas SPED Support has so much to offer, and it continues to grow. Today, Texas SPED Support includes over 800 resources and learning opportunities, with new content added regularly. As the site has grown, a major focus of our work is making sure users can quickly access and easily find the resources that they need. To support that, the site covers 18 different topic areas, accessible right in the navigation. Additionally, users can search and filter the over 500 resources covering all of those topics, everything from instructional tools, how-to guides, videos, and articles. Users have access to an extensive learning library with over 250 online courses, workshops, and TOTs. Additionally, this is one of our newest sections of the site where you can find various professional opportunities, everything from grants, recruitment, and even certification and licensing support. And last but not least, there's a listing of all of our statewide contacts by region, making it easy for anyone to find and connect with support in the area that they need. And because there's so much great information on Texas SPED Support, a lot of time and care has been put into refining an easy-to-use and powerful site search engine. Our search results page allows users to explore content by keyword and then refine their results using filters so they can move from a more broad search to a more focused set of resources. In addition to individual resources, Texas SPED Support includes collections, which have been curated sets of resources pulled together around specific topics or support needs by TEA specialists. And then we also made it really easy for users to quickly share any resource tool or online course with coworkers. So you just click the share icon and a box pulls up with different options to share that resource directly. Another extremely popular feature has been our bookmarking feature, allowing any user that creates an account to save their favorite resources into their own library. This allows us to quickly create a list of things we want to revisit or share. So even with all of those great free features, we still saw an opportunity to provide an even better way for users to organize, revisit, and share their content. And that's where custom lists comes in. This new feature builds on everything you've seen so far and gives users even greater flexibility to group resources intentionally and share them more effectively. The great thing is that this is something most of us are already familiar with, from using features like custom playlists on Apple Music or Spotify, or creating wish lists on Amazon. These tools let us group things in ways that make sense to us and share them when needed. Custom List on Texas SPED Support works the same way. Users can create lists for themselves, organized around a specific topic or need, and share those lists with others. Now let's jump into showing you how to use Custom List. I'm going to hand it over to Deontay to walk you through it.
All right. Thank you, Aaron, for sharing this great information. Glad to be here. Now, let's take a look at this new feature. First, to begin creating and sharing our own list, you will need to have an account with us. You'll be prompted to input some fields. However, once that's done, you'll be able to start bookmarking resources. Once your account is created, you'll be able to start bookmarking resources. Let me show you how this is done. You will start by clicking on a bookmark icon from anywhere on the site. Once clicked, you will see the Add to List pop up. Here, we can decide to add to the default My Bookmark list, which everyone already has when you create an account. Or you can choose to create a list, which is what we're going to do here in this demo. From here, I can give my list a name and a description. For example, let's call this list Early Childhood, and let's give it a fitting description. Quick note, no need to stress this too long. We will be able to get back and edit our title and description at any time. Once I hit create, I'll receive a confirmation that my list was created and that my bookmark resource also lives in the list. Let us now click on View List. You can see at the top, I have my custom list title, description, and visibility status. If I were to look to the right of my list, we'll see two options. We can choose to either share this new list to various platforms, or we can make any needed changes. When managing list, we can update the title, description, and the status of a list from private to shared. But for now, let's keep everything as it is. Let's go back and learn more about share. With this, we have several different share options, copying a direct link via email, Facebook, or X. Please note, once we choose to share a list, its status will automatically switch from private to shared. This time, I'm going to choose email. It's going to open up my email client and provide me with the URL, a short and sweet subject line, and an email body that we can customize to make this our own. Let's close the email client and let's go back to the newly created list page. I can see all of my recently created lists on the left-hand side navigation bar. As we create more lists, we can use View All List, which now takes us to a page to view all of our lists, presenting the name, status, and quick access to the share list and manage list buttons, all in one view. This page will be ideal to use for managing all your collection of custom lists. If you want to remove a bookmark resource from your list, it's just as easy to do as when you added it. Let's find an item we bookmarked, click on that darkened icon, Then choose which list we would like to remove from the resource, and that's it. All other expected curated list features are here, but we leave it to you to poke around and find out more. Now, let's hand this over back to Erin.
Thanks so much, Deontay, for walking us through that. So we hope you find this feature as exciting as we do, and can start using your custom list to potentially organize your resources based on your specific needs, to prepare curated resources sets in advance for common support scenarios, or even share a focused list of resources instead of a long set of links. If you haven't already, we encourage you to create your Texas SPED Support account and start building your first custom list. And if you're already one of our 20,000 account users, simply log back into your account and begin exploring the new custom list feature. Thanks, y'all. I'm gonna kick this back to Anna. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you. It's so helpful. And I love the fact that feedback from the participants were where that came from. You know, people who use the site wanted a little bit more customizable. So thank you guys. Appreciate you all. Awesome. Well, next on our agenda, we've got Elizabeth Danner here to share quite a bit of data with you, and she's our expert in SPP 14. So Elizabeth, I'm going to hand it to you.
Thank you so much. All right. Move some things around on my screen. All right. So thank you for letting me join today's webinar to review the results of the most recent post-school outcomes survey. This slide deck is not available, but the links to the resources that will be reviewed during the presentation are available in the agenda for today's webinar. All right. So all states must develop a state performance plan called SPP, and the SPP sets targets for different measurements, which are referred to as indicators. TEA reports progress toward these targets to the Office of Special Education Programs, or OSEP, each year. So state SPP Indicator 14, or SPPI 14, collects data about students who had an individualized education program, or IEP, at the time they exited public school. They may have left by graduating, dropping out, completing a high school equivalency, usually called a GED, or another leaver category included in the SPPI 14 data collection. And through SPPI 14, we can learn what students are doing 1 year after leaving school. This is what is meant by post-school outcomes. What are students doing after they leave public school? This survey helps collect data for SPPI 14, and it allows us to measure the percentage of students who are continuing their education beyond high school, such as enrolling in college or a training program, and the percentage who are employed. And today's presentation will focus on the results for the most recent survey conducted from June to September 2025. This information will be available in the statewide report published on the TEA website. And I will also review resources that local educational agencies, or LEAs, can use to support their understanding of SPPI 14, or to support reviewing the results for their LEA, their Education Service Center, or ESC region, and the state. For example, the image on the screen is a collection of videos available on Texas SPED Support. So let's start with the timeline for the SPPI 14 post-school outcomes survey. For the most recent survey, we begin with school year 2023-24. Students in grades 9 through 12 with an IEP who exited public school during that school year were included in leaver data submitted through TSDS PEANS in January of the following year. That leaver data was used to submit data specific to SPPI 14 in February 2025, which included contact and demographic data for students who met the criteria. A few months later, the contact information for that cohort was used by Gibson Consulting Group as part of a technical assistance grant with TEA to conduct the SPPI 14 survey. Notice that the survey was conducted 1 year after the cohort of students exited public school, from June to September 2025. After the survey closed, Gibson Consulting Group analyzed the results and submitted a report to TEA. The report with statewide results will be published on the TEA website, while the reports with regional and LEA data are shared by each ESC. Next, we will establish who was included in the 2025 SPPI 14 survey cohort. So to give you an idea of the scale of the SPPI 14 efforts in Texas, we will first review data about the class of 2024 cohort. This data is not included in the SPPI 14 report. As reported by the TEA's Division of Research Analysis, there were over 400,000 students in the 4-year cohort for the class of 2024. That number includes all student groups. When we use this same data set, we see that nearly 40,000 of those students had an IEP in place at the time of exit. This data also reveals the difference in percentage of students who graduated, continued enrollment, received a Texas Certificate of High School Equivalency, which you may be more familiar with the term GED, or dropped out. Today's discussion focuses on post-school outcomes, but it's worth noting these discrepancies as part of other conversations related to graduation and dropout rates. Now that we have a picture of the class of 2024, we will turn our attention to the results of the SPPI 14 survey. The information on this slide is included in the statewide report for SPPI 14. And these numbers do not match the data for the class of 2024 that we reviewed on the previous slide because students from other class cohorts were included. For example, a student in the class of 2022 who continued enrollment to receive special education services after meeting graduation requirements and who exited with a diploma during the 2023-24 school year would have been included in the SPPI 14 Summer 2025 survey. Over 41,000 exited students were invited to complete the SPPI 14 survey. As we saw on the timeline, these were students enrolled in grades 9 through 12 during the 2023-24 school year who had an IEP at the time they exited through graduating, earning a GED, or dropping out. Quick note, for the purposes of today's webinar, I listed the primary types of leaver records rather than describing detailed criteria. If you are involved in the data submission for SPPI 14, use the data collection rules specified by TSDS PEIMS to submit complete and accurate data for the most recent cohort of exited students. Gibson Consulting Group made over 1 million attempts to contact these exited students. The outreach methods included email, text message, postcards, and phone calls for an average of about 30 attempts per exited student. A personal identification number, or PIN, was assigned to every exited student in the database to ensure that duplicate responses were assigned to the same student. 79% of survey respondents identified themselves as the parent or family member of the exited student. Almost 12,000 completed surveys were submitted for a 28.2% response rate. And this is an increase from the 2024 survey results, which had a response rate of 26.8%. 43 LEAs had a 100% response rate, while 181 LEAs had a response rate of 0, and all of which had fewer than 15 exited students in the SPPI 14 cohort. So next, let's review response rates across different methods of outreach. On the previous slide, we noted that Gibson Consulting Group made over 1 million attempts, which included text messages, emails, phone calls, and postcards to exited students. Of those methods, the highest response rate was from text messages. The next highest response rate was email, with 37.5% of the total completed surveys, Phone calls resulted in 12% of the total completed surveys, followed by postcards with just over 4%. The other categories include unknown, word of mouth, information from the exited student's former school, and social media. And while these did not result in significant numbers of responses, it's helpful to see that the more information that is shared about the SPPI 14 survey, the more opportunities that exited students will have to share their experience about their transition to adulthood. We've talked about what the SPPI survey is, who is included, the timeline for the most recent report, and response rates, but what about the results? The information on this slide is included in the statewide report. For today's presentation, I created a pie chart to help us quickly review the data. In the report, you will find definitions for each category. For example, a respondent was assigned to category 1 if they responded that over the past year, they were enrolled in a 2-year or 4-year college or university for at least one complete term. A complete term can be any length, such as a quarter, a semester, intersession, summer session, or program. The 2025 survey showed that 29% of survey respondents met this definition, while 4% met the definition for other education, as shown in category 3. 25% of survey respondents were competitively employed, as shown in category 2, while 7% met the definition for other employment, as shown in category 4. The gray pie piece for category 5 shows us that 34% of survey respondents did not meet any of the category definitions. This is a slight increase from the 2024 survey. In addition to the federally required survey questions, the Texas survey includes additional questions. The continuity of services questions explore the number and percent of exited students who requested and received accommodations in higher education. The quality of supports and services questions identify access to agencies such as Texas Workforce Commission. Finally, there are questions designed to identify what high school experiences were most helpful in connecting students with sustainable employment. The report also includes breakdowns of certain data by demographic characteristics and by disability categories, such as the image on this slide that displays the percentage of respondents who participated in each high school experience that found it helpful by primary disability. This figure is included in the SPPI 14 statewide report. And to see a copy of the survey itself, look for the appendix in the statewide report. The transition contact for your ESC will receive the reports with regional data, as well as the report for each LEA in their region. The ESCs are responsible for disseminating the LEA reports to the appropriate staff in each LEA. If you are the Transition and Employment Designee, or TED, or the Special Education Director for your LEA, you can expect to receive an email from your ESC with a link to download your report. Notice that the type of LEA report depends on the number of responses. Many LEAs will receive a report with their local results from the 2025 survey. However, in cases where fewer than 5 exited students submitted a response to the SPPI 14 survey, there are several other options. If the threshold can be met by combining the results with other LEAs in a shared services arrangement, or SSA, or by combining the results across multiple years, a report with that data will be provided. If none of the methods can result in meeting at least 5 completed surveys, and there were students in the cohort who were invited to complete the survey, then a masked report is shared. When an LEA receives their report, keep in mind that while SPPI 14 results are not subject to protections through the Federal Educational Rights to Privacy Act, or FERPA, the LEA reports are considered confidential data. Administrators should consider which LEA staff may benefit from reviewing the local results for SPPI 14 and what methods work best to share this data as appropriate. For questions about sharing the results for your LEA, contact the transition specialist for your ESC. As you plan for your next steps related to SPPI 14, think back to the timeline we reviewed at the beginning of this presentation. Watch for information from your ESC about how to access the 2025 report for your LEA, your region, and the state. For the upcoming survey that will be conducted during summer 2026, data for school year 2024-25 cohort must be submitted in TSDS PEIMS by February 19. This data will be pulled from the PEIMS fall submission that closed on January 15. For students enrolled this school year, be sure to share information about the SPPI 14 survey. And there are a couple of resources available on Texas SPED Support that you could bookmark, given the new bookmarking feature that Erin shared earlier. Speaking of bookmarks, the SPPI 14 bookmark can be printed and shared with students and families during opportunities such as admission review and dismissal or ARD committee meetings, or included with paperwork related to graduation or exit. And the Texas Transition and Employment Guide was updated in the summer of 2025 and now includes a one-page infographic about the post-school outcomes survey. And again, the links to the resources we discussed today were included in the agenda for today's webinar. So with that, I will say thank you very much for allowing me some time on the agenda, and I will hand it back to Anna.